The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Yes, coming to you cordless, everybody. It's Monday night, August 19th, 2024. Got to turn my volume down a little bit. A little loud on the headphones there. It's 11 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Sydney, Australia, and here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 149, if you're keeping score at home. And I just happened to be visit Dan Bongino's Rumble channel this afternoon, and I think he's on episode number 2911. No lie. So I got a ways to go. I do. So you wonder what's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on here. That's first of all, Blog Talk Radio is down again tonight, so we have no call-in feature, which is terrible because I don't have a guest. So, and especially on Mondays, I because of the DNC convention, I debated whether I should book a guest for today, and I thought, no, I don't think so. There's too much stuff going on. We come off a 3-day weekend. I mean, generally, I like to do Monday nights alone. So now you can't call up. Well, you can call up using your camera, but a lot of you don't like to do that. I know that. So you see that ticker at the bottom of the screen here? The audio number, this number right here, that's not working tonight. Yeah, so you can go to the webpage, jimandnight.com/call to call in with your camera, or you can send me a text message at 408-458-5088, but there's no way to actually talk to me audio only. You just can't call up on the phone and talk, and most of you do that. That's usually the way that happens. So I'm a little pissed off about that. I don't know what's going to happen until we actually try to connect. I'm getting this show off the ground every night. It's like launching freaking rockets. I'm serious. It's unbelievable. I got clocks to coordinate. It's ridiculous. But anyway, we don't find out that happen until we actually do call in to Blog Talk Radio to set up the connection, and we called in and there's no connection at all. So there we go. There's that. So DNC convention night 1. Biden was supposed to start talking about 10 minutes ago. Now, because I'm so busy here, I did not get a chance to tune in and see if that was the case or watch or whatever. He was scheduled to go on at 9:50. I don't know how long he's going to talk. I don't know how long he's capable. I don't know what they pumped into his butt to get him to do this. I have no idea. So we'll find out later. Unfortunately, like normally you could call in and tell me, but you can't tonight. This is really terrible. This is terrible. And I got a lot of notes, and we also, we got part 3. We got a lot of UFO news tonight too, believe it or not. So it's not that I'm lack of anything to talk about, but still, I like talking to you guys. Hold on a second. And I like it when you call in. We've only had one show here when we took calls for 2 hours nonstop. That was about 3 weeks ago. Monday, I think 3 or maybe 4 weeks ago. I can't remember. It hasn't happened before or since. I thought maybe tonight. Well, I get my hopes up. That's what I do. So, yeah. So tomorrow, here's more bad news. I wasn't expecting to do this, but we're not doing a show tomorrow night. We were going to run shows all week this week because of the DNC convention. I had late last night. I got some family news. I have some family businesses I have to take care of. I have no choice. So there's no show tomorrow night. So sorry about that too. Like everything goes wrong at once. It's feast or famine. You know how that is. Wednesday, the dynamic duo is here. Jennifer Oliver O'Connell from RedState.com. Jeff Meyer at Conk.com. Jennifer's written some particularly good articles in the last couple weeks, especially the last week regarding Kamala Harris. So we're looking forward to talking to her. And of course, Jeff is just Jeff, and Jeff has stuff to talk about. And I'm not, you might think I'm trying to be funny. I'm not. Jeff does have stuff to talk about. So I'm not worried about that at all. Those two on, yak, 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 yak. And they have a lot to say too. That's a cool thing. So they're coming on Wednesday. Thursday, we got our month in review panel, even though it's not the month in review, but they're here for the last night of the convention. Now, when we did this for the RNC convention, we waited until Donald Trump was done talking. And that was a mistake, because normally when we put the convention, the month in review panel, we put it's our panel. It's a month in review panel. I call it that. It's kind of also the Conk News panel. It's when we did Conk News Weekend. These three guys were the panel for years. Now, sometimes they can't make it. As a matter of fact, I build on the front page of our website, Conaway, Newman, and Zorro. There's a good possibility Zorro won't be here. So we'll either have a replacement for him, or we'll go on just the three of us. But they were the panel at Conk News for years. We did the Saturday morning show, and it worked out great. So, and the thing is, and I think you guys agree too, because the appearance of that panel is among the highest viewed shows we ever do. But when Trump did the speech for the closing of the RNC, what was that, a month ago or something like that? We had terrible viewership because we waited until the speech was done to go on, and we ended up going on about half an hour. We ended up going on about 12:30 a.m. Eastern time, 90 minutes after our normal start. And people tuned in to find us, and we weren't there. And I know this because I had a friend of mine who did. He said he actually tuned in to watch the show, and it wasn't there. And that's because he's expecting it to be there. Well, if not at 10 or 11 at 11:30 Eastern, something like that. But anyway, it was 9. We were 90 minutes late, and so this time, because Kamala's not going to have anything interesting to say anyway, and I'm going to get to that. I got some stuff to talk about there on that. But we're just going to start it at 11 Eastern, 10 o'clock Central. We're going to start at our standard time. Screw it. If she's in the middle of talking, the hell with it. I don't care. I don't care, folks. Do I look like a man who cares right now? No, I'm a man who does not care. I can say this because we're not on the radio. I have no fucks to give. Okay? All right? So I've already explained to you how you can't call in tonight, so we got that. Here's our sponsor. Here's Conk News. This is the front page of Conk News in real time. This is Monday's final word from Ed Morrissey at hotair.com in the upper left corner. Now, if you watch his show regularly, I read these commercials at least once a show, you probably notice that usually when we show the Conk News website in real time, at this particular time and hour, usually Hot Air has the top left spot. That's not always the case at all. It is, because like I said, it's kind of time sensitive. So every night, more or less, they end up with the top thing. The way this works is that all these 75 news outlets, the servers go out and grab all these stories, and then they post them on the front page of Conk News in reverse chronological order, the newest one first, but it has nothing to do with their source. It's just whatever the post time is on whatever story that the server grabs, that's the time the server uses to place it in order. And usually around this time, 10 p.m. Central, on weekend nights, usually Hot Air ends up on the top spot because we talked about Jazz Shaw and David Strom over there, and Ed Morrissey too, who am I talking about? We got a lot of friends, and I've asked them about this. Yes, they do have them. They do automatically schedule stories to be posted at certain times. So, and most blog type news sites do that too. So that's the reason that's usually a Hot Air story. And I can tell because you'll see there's a little icon at the bottom left of the story underneath the picture of Biden. That's the Hot Air, the trademark, the logo for Hot Air. That's how I know it's them. So, and of course, that's my picture right next to my giant head right here. This is my giant head. And this is, yeah, so you just goofing around on the internet TV. What the hell? So that's kind of they have my picture on the front page because they sponsor the show. So it's very nice of them. So at any rate, yeah, that's what the Conk News is a news aggregator. Like I said, they grab stories from 75 different news sources every 3 hours. You can spend a couple hours, even if you just click through a few stories here. You can spend 2-3 hours reading this front page. You can come back 5 hours later at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever your day is like, and 4 or 5 hours later, and 80% of the stories have changed. So you can't find a better news source. I'm not kidding. You actually can't. Now, I was very proud to work for these people for many years. And I can't talk this business or this product up enough. If it's the closest thing, if you're an old farmer like me, it's the closest thing you'll find on the internet to a real traditional newspaper and the way it works. If you click through on the story or the pictures are from the articles themselves, the headlines aren't rewritten as they are on most other, where they try to be clever or whatever, on most other news aggregators. And if you click through, you go directly to that story. No ad, no interstitial page, no front page, nothing. You go directly to the story, and it's a very pure experience. And I can tell you from experience from working there that the news sources that Conk News uses, they love Conk News because for that very reason, we don't screw around with the content at all. It's a direct line. There's no ad in between or any of that crap. It goes right to the story, and they love the traffic. So for the 4 years I worked there, we never had a single news source complain, and many of them thanked us and complimented us. So anyway, yeah, check it out. It's at conk.com, or you'll see at the top of the front page here, it's conk.news. That works too. Either one. So check that out when you get a chance. Okay, so what happened? What happened this weekend? I'll tell you what happened this weekend. This is this has not happened this weekend. It's a little bit of old news, but I want to talk about this because I can't imagine. In my mind, there's few things that have happened in the zeitgeist of our culture recently. And when I mean recently, I'm probably talking about the last 20 years, that is more alludes or points to how ridiculous our news culture has become than this. So this was, and I should have grabbed. I probably could have. Just occurred to me. Under normal circumstances, I could not have run a clip on this. But this is so short and it's so news oriented that I probably could have gotten away with this, and I wouldn't have got sued. On last Monday, this is a week ago tonight, on the Colbert, the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Caitlin Collins from CNN was on. Now, you've probably seen this, but the thing is, I still find it just amazing. So they're having their little interview discussion, and Colbert says off the top of his head, just as an aside, he says, "Well, CNN is a objective news source," and then he goes on, and the audience laughs, and it's not a little laugh. When he says CNN is an objective news source, the audience laughs. And he basically he's taken aback. He's looking, what was so funny? And Caitlin Collins says to him, "Was that supposed to be a laugh line?" And he says, "Well, it wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is." And it's like they didn't understand why the audience was laughing. That's the other thing. It's not just that the audience laughed out loud, boldly so. It's that they didn't understand why the audience was laughing. It was really, really a telling moment. It says something about, because nobody in their right mind considers CNN an objective news source anymore. I understand. My impression is the people at CNN actually do think that. And here, let me give you another example of that too. He doesn't work there anymore, but Don Lemon, and I think he did this for his Twitter feed or something. He's pretending to have some sort of intertube show or something like that because no one will hire him, which is really good. And this is a good reason why. So he goes to Las Vegas and he stops people on the strip and asks them who they're voting for. And almost everybody he asked, I'm assuming he did not edit this because he obviously wasn't. It was obviously not the result he was looking for. Almost everybody he asked said Trump, and he didn't believe it. He could not believe it. He said, it's like, what huh? Wow, what? I mean, it started out okay. Okay, got a couple people for Trump. Then it was everybody. Everybody he talked to, with one or two exceptions, said they were going to vote for Trump, and he literally didn't understand why. He couldn't wrap his mind around that. But like, what do you see in this guy? And so how do you get? I'll tell you what people see in him. Okay, yeah, he talks shit. All right, yeah, we all know that. That's the thing. And at this point, everybody who's even a supporter of Trump knows that. He talks crap. He does it on a regular basis. He says stupid shit all the time. He does. But he was already president for 4 years. He did a pretty good job. That's the thing. And they can't get away from that at this point. It's like you got a guy here who actually did this for 4 years and okay, maybe it wasn't perfect and maybe he screwed up COVID, maybe he did, but on the whole, he did a pretty good job, and so, compare that to the guy we have doing it right now, who's probably, I think Bill O'Reilly stole this from me. I said this, he's probably going to go down as the second worst president in American history. It's like nothing's gone right for these people, nothing. And it's their own doing. This isn't like Jimmy Carter. It isn't. Jimmy Carter, you can make an argument. Well, first of all, Jimmy Carter did have some bad judgment. He did make some incorrect decisions that ended up biting him in the butt. Okay, then that's fine. And he was kind of sort of handed a bad hand, too, regarding the economy especially. I mean, everyone said this, and, I don't have to repeat it, and that, this is the worst inflation we've had since then. That was 40 plus years ago. Since Carter, at the height of Carter's administration, which was 76 to 80, or 77 to 81, really, at the height of it, inflation was 21%. Now, it wasn't nowhere near that bad this time. It got to about 9.5%. But still, it was bad enough, and it's not coming down. And so then Kamala, now I'm kind of stream of consciousness here, but this is all related. Kamala decides to give her first policy speech a couple days ago on Friday. She gave it in Pennsylvania, I think. I can't quite remember. And so she says the problem with the economy is that companies are price gouging. She doesn't even, it's not inflation, it's price gouging. Now, first of all, I can tell you for a fact, I know for a fact I can prove that's not true. Why? Competition, bitch. Competition keeps people from price gouging. You can't raise the price if your competitor's not going to raise theirs. And it's not happening. No, what's happened here is you folks printed a boatload of money at the beginning of your term, and because of that, it's basically worthless, and flooded the market with it, and now we have more money in the system than should be in the system, and because of that, the money's all worth less. That's what happened. And anybody, a first-year economics student, could have told you this was going to happen. Everybody did. I did. Lindsey Graham was going on and on about it for months. Well, they can't do this. They can't do this. Nope, they did it, and look what happened. And now they won't cop to the fact that they caused it. This is crazy. In that sense, it's completely different than what happened with Carter. This is entirely on Joe Biden, and I can't tell if he's lying to himself, lying to the public, or if he's delusional. I'm starting to think it's the latter. I'm starting to think he's disconnected from reality. He thinks everything's great. And they're still going on about the fact that, what was it? Somebody on MSNBC said the public just doesn't realize how good the economy is. No, it's not good. You stupid. Jesus Christ. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. It's gaslighting on the highest order. The economy is not good. And shut the F up about the fact that it is. It's just crap. It's not. And so, all right, where did I get off there? About the fact that we started talking about Stephen Colbert and the fact that the audience laughed at this. It's all gaslighting. I mean, this is and I've said this many times, but it really bears repeating. This is the difference between now and Jimmy Carter 40 years ago. Jimmy Carter was openly acknowledging the fact things weren't going well. He was asking everybody, what can we do to change? He gave the Malays speech, which was about the fact, yes, the country is in a, he didn't actually use the word Malays in the speech. Everyone forgets that. But about the fact that the country's not doing well, we need to basically a kick in the pants or whatever the hell it is, I mean, so yeah, he acknowledged the fact that things were not well. These people won't acknowledge it. They think everything's fine. And they just keep talking about that. They keep talking about how great a president Joe Biden was and is. And yet Kamala's running away from Joe as fast as she can, which is normally for the fact they put him on Monday, the first night of the convention, I find highly disrespectful. There's two things going on here. First of all, Joe might have wanted that because he's going to California now. He's not going to be at the convention. He's going on vacation again. And also, Kamala wanted to put as much distance in time between her and him as possible. And so, she's going on the last night, so put him on the first night. Now, that's not respectful either. I mean, it's, I don't, I'm not a fan of Joe Biden whatsoever. And I'm kind of with Trump on this. It doesn't change the fact that he got removed by coup. And also, and this is still true as far as I can tell, and I'm going to talk about this in a second too, with the latest poll numbers. It's still true that nobody, including Kamala, is polling as well as Joe Biden did against Trump. I mean, Joe had a point, and that is, it appears that he was the best candidate to run against Trump, even if he'd lose. So now this is really going to be interesting what happens here. The polling has been all over the place. The two polls I trust, Rasmussen and Trafalgar. I don't know what Trafalgar has done recently, but Rasmussen came out with a poll yesterday, and they said Trump's 5 points ahead. And they have historically, since all these pollsters screwed up the 2016 election, since then, Rasmussen has been the most accurate. They say Trump's ahead by 5 points, which is outside of their margin of error. But all the other polls put them basically tied neck and neck. Now, I think that the more the Harris campaign seems to think they can keep her from talking for 3 months. I don't think they can. And sooner or later, she's going to do that debate with Trump, the first one. And, people say that she can hold her on. I don't think she can. Matter of fact, David Strom, now this is really interesting, and I never thought of this until I read David Strom, our friend who comes on regularly from Hot Air. He wrote a piece today about the fact there's rumors floating around the Democratic Party that Kamala is what you would call, I'm not that familiar with this because I've never really lived in this world. She's supposedly what you call a day drunk. That the reason she talks in word salads and the reason she says these ridiculous things is because she's actually high on alcohol most of the time. And if you stop and think about it, this is Strom drew the same conclusion I did. Once I stopped thinking about that, I couldn't not think about it because it makes really, really good sense. I've heard this woman say some unbelievably stupid crap. I mean, and what if she's drunk? And okay, this sounds like conspiracy theory nonsense bullshit, but the fact of the matter is, have you heard some of the stuff she said? I went to a dinner party here in Minneapolis this weekend, and of course, there's a bunch of people there. Of course, it's a dinner party, and of course, everybody, because it's in Minneapolis, everybody's a liberal except me. And they were talking about the fact that first of all, I do have to say this. I find this kind of interesting. This is different than 4 years ago. They're making fun of Trump, all this sort of stuff. But I did not notice the intense hatred I did 4 years ago where people are saying he's the devil and he's Hitler. I didn't notice that. People are making fun of the fact he's a buffoon and saying stupid shit and can't get out of his own way. And some of that stuff really true. Of course it is, But I did not notice the intensity of evil that I did 4 years ago. I didn't notice that. But the other thing is people are saying, when somebody said, well, Trump keeps saying that Kamala's stupid. And this person said, well, I don't see it, And I can't not see it. And I know that, and all these people are highly educated. They all got really good jobs. Well, actually, most of them are retired, but so they're not stupid. But the thing is, I'm starting to realize exactly what Megyn Kelly said when she interviewed Bill Maher. And that is, she says Bill Maher's problem isn't, like he's a liberal, and she says his problem isn't that he's stupid at all. It's that he's completely misinformed. And I think that's true of Maher, and I think that's true of the people at this party. Don't think they're correctly informed because, I mean, have you paid any attention to listen to this woman talk? One of the hallmarks of intelligence is how well somebody can put words together, especially on the fly, verbally, and she's completely incapable of it, totally, which is the reason they don't ever talk. And she does these, these rallies and stuff, these appearances. She's reading off a teleprompter. She never talks extemporaneously. And when she does, she puts her foot in her mouth. She says stupid shit. So that's why I do. You take the teleprompter away. I actually don't think. They're not going to kick her off the ticket the same way they kicked off Biden, because Biden's perceived problem was the cognitive dissonance of age. Although I don't actually know if that's true. I mean, a lot of people do. I know there's a lot of people who think he's basically in the throes of dementia or just approaching it. I'm not certain that's true at all. I just think he might just be a stupid fucking old bastard. But I don't think she's going to do any better than he did, because she has the same problem. She can't talk. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm me. I'm the first to sit here at this desk and tell you if I'm wrong and if I am. So, and people, there's a general consensus of how these things go, and not everybody agrees, but generally, I mean, I usually can find the consensus of what people think, unlike Don Lemon, who doesn't understand why people would vote for Trump. So, this is going to be really fascinating. Now, all that said, I'm talking about the Rasmussen poll, all this sort of stuff. This is Trump's to lose. He's in a completely different position where he was the previous two times he did this. The first time, nobody gave him a chance in hell, and there seems to be some indication that even he didn't, that he thought he was going to lose. No one's ever from his campaigns ever talked about that, but there were some indications of that. 2020, and I have said that I think that there was some evidence I think there is evidence of cheating in the 2020 election. But that said, too, somebody's brought up to me, and this is true. I checked this out, and that is, except for like one single day and one poll in the 2020 campaign, Trump was never ahead anywhere. Now, I discounted those polls at the time because the polling for 2016 was so bad. I mean, basically every poll, except Trafalgar and actually Nate Silver, which you almost have to qualify for a reason I'll tell you in a second, basically got that wrong. I mean, Huffington Post gave Hillary a 98% chance of winning. Well, look where that got her, But in 2020, he didn't lead ever, anywhere, in any poll, in any state. He was never in the lead, And actually, if you consider that, it's amazing how close he came to winning. He came within several states. He came within 10,000 votes of beating Biden. That's of course if you buy the counting, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So, but here it's a different thing. He's been ahead most of the time, and this is, everyone seems to think that if he does not bobble this, that if he handles this correctly, he will win. Now the question is, can he handle it correctly? That's the question. And some people, I mean, Donald is good he's good at sticking his foot in his mouth too, a totally different way than Kamala, but he is. So it is a total, this election is a total toss-up right now. We'll see as time goes on. Everyone says, well, there's so little time, No, actually, it's a perfect amount of time. And I contend, I have no evidence of this at all. People are saying, well, how come the Trump campaign isn't campaigning more? I think they're going to wait till after the convention. And not only that, I think they were getting their ducks in a row too. So they had to make an adjustment. They ended up with a new candidate in midstream to go against. So I think there was a deliberate thing on their part, although no one on their campaign has said that. But that's what I personally believe. So, and of course, I'm always right. Yeah, no, I'm not. So, any rate, okay, yeah. There's another thing. Okay, I want to talk about another thing here too. So you got the press, which was basically the Kamala Harris cheering section. But, and this is a really big but, over the weekend, there seems to be some evidence that the press is bolting from their unconditional love of Kamala. And the reason I say that is because most of the left-wing media outlets, her plan on price controls was almost universally panned by the press. Even the left-wing press panned it, and badly. I mean, their people had no problem telling her, and even on the Sunday morning talk shows on MSNBC and CNN and stuff, on the left-wing media, that people had no problem saying this was a stupid idea. And I'm starting to wonder, especially the New York Times, I'm starting to wonder if they've just, after years and years of carrying the Democrats' water, if they're kind of getting tired of it. I just, I mean, you have to understand, in its entire history, this is not an exaggeration, it's in its entire history, and I think the New York Times started around 1850 or 1840, they have never endorsed a Republican for president, ever. Not a single one. Even when Ronald Reagan ran for a second term, they endorsed Walter Mondale. And I don't know if you know this or remember this, Mondale won only one single state, his home state of Minnesota. They've never done this, and they're not about to do it that's not going to happen anytime soon. They're certainly not going to endorse Trump. But it seems they've been unabashedly protecting Biden from the public knowing about his cognitive dissonance problem, or whatever the hell you want to call it, for years now. And I'm just wondering, if maybe they're getting a little tired of doing this. The other thing that's happened, which is kind of to be expected, and that is now that Joe is not going to be in a position of power anymore, the press is already turning on him regarding his crime family dealings, for lack of a better term. So the Republicans today, they put out a 392-page report in a congressional committee detailing all the stuff that the Biden family has done to rip money off the public. I think they came up with that they figure that it was a total of like $28 million or something like that. Their conclusion is that Biden should be impeached, that these were high crimes and misdemeanors. And all of a sudden, the press is not attempting to protect him from that. They're just reporting this. And, I'm talking about the left-wing media press, Now, Biden is not going to be impeached because there's not enough time. It's not worth the trouble. He's going to be out of office. But it appears the Republicans, it's like this was their, like a stake in history. They just want to it seems like they just want to make certain that history knew what happened here. So they prepared the report. Nothing's really going to happen. I mean, this is really interesting because I'm talking while he's talking right now. I don't know if he's still talking, but there's few people thought, wouldn't it be crazy if he actually resigned the presidency tonight? It would, and it wouldn't surprise me if he did. I mean, apparently everyone, and I never know about this because you never know about this behind the scenes crap, but the press is widely reporting that he's apparently really pissed off that he got pushed out of running again. And you can kind of not blame him for that, but on the other hand, the guy can barely walk. I mean, this is crazy. There's no way in hell he could have served another term. He can barely serve for this one. I mean, in a just world, he would have already been removed. He is incapable physically of doing the job of president. So, oh man. Anyway, yeah. So, but the press does not seem to be interested in protecting him anymore. And also, the other thing that occurred to me is I have the feeling he would not step down and would not be forced out of office, maybe be forced out of running for re-election. Not be forced, because I think now, because all the bets are off, now I think he will pardon his son, who's basically in a shitload of legal trouble. Now, this came up this weekend too. On September 19th, what's his name? Marsan, the judge in New York, is going to sentence Donald Trump. And there's a good, at first people were saying the chance of Trump actually getting jail time is unlikely. And now I thought the entire time I thought that isn't true. And now there's a lot of analysts who are thinking that too. They think that Trump will be sentenced to jail time. The only thing is, because of the way this works for white collar crime in New York State, he will have the opportunity to appeal, or he can post bail and stay out of jail pending his appeal. There's no way an appeal will get done before Election Day. So the chances of him actually going to jail, unless there's some mix-up here or something that I don't know about, the chances of him actually going to jail before Election Day are extremely slim. But still, he could be sentenced to jail time, and everyone seems to think, including me, that's that could benefit him, because every single time he's been put in some sort of legal quandary, his poll numbers have gone up, because the public does not want to. They think this is bullshit, and it is bullshit. It's like, I know there's a lot of liberal people think he deserves this. No. The law, they jump through so many legal hoops just to file these charges. It's mind-boggling, and none of this is going to hold him on appeal. It isn't. First of all these things these 34 felonies he was sentenced to, they should have been misdemeanors. There's that. Secondly, the statute of limitations had expired, so there's that. And you can go down on it's like they jumped through so many hoops to basically revive something that should have been legally completely dead. And it should be completely dead. So I would be shocked if this is not. And everyone who's the legal people, Jonathan Turley, and all the legal scholars who look at this, they said the same thing. Everyone will be shocked if this is not overturned on appeal. Because the idea was not actually to put Trump in jail. It was just to tie him up in court. So it's going to be interesting to see what Marsan does here, because if they were really smart, they'd let him off with probation or something like that. It's like, because right now, every single time they've tried to do something they thought would punish him, it actually ended up making him stronger. But I don't know. We'll see. My gut tells me he's going to be sentenced to jail time. But like I said, that doesn't mean he's going to end up in jail. It doesn't. But yeah. So. At any rate, if you watch the show in the past, you will know that I've talked before about the fact that I think there's evidence that the 2020 election was cheated. One of my primary evidences, and I can't get over this, and I've had friends that tell me I should just give this up, that even though I may be right on the figures, it doesn't matter, about the crowd sizes that Joe Biden drew during the 2020 election cycle. And this is an actual figure. This is a verified figure, with one exception. 5 days before the 2020 election in Pennsylvania, where Biden drew 900 people to a campaign event, he never drew more than 200 people to any campaign event the entire campaign. Now, they said their blame was COVID, but meanwhile, Trump was averaging 20,000 people per rally, per campaign event. Now, so they swapped Kamala in here, and one of the pollsters brought up today about the fact, we're talking about the polls, about the fact that, okay, so what's happened here? Usually, if Kamala's numbers go up, at least based on Biden's, that means Trump's goes down, and that did not happen here. What happened is Kamala's went up and Trump stayed the same, and then people are wondering, well, where those voters came from? And the pollsters are saying those are Democratic voters who were going to stay home, who were not going to vote for Biden because they couldn't stomach it. So so she's kind of re-energized a lot of people in the party. That's really true. But one of the hallmark, I keep getting back to this crowd size things. So she started out really strong, and that might be because, like people I pointed out, is some of these rallies she done aren't so much rallies as they are concerts where she gives a speech. In other words, she gets like Megan the Stallion or Carly B or some of these people. They literally give a performance, and she talks in the middle of it. So it's technically billed as a campaign event, but you don't know if people came to see her or if they came to see the musical artists. So she's been drawing 12, 15,000 people to these events. All right, that's pretty good, it is. But she did an event on Friday, the event where she actually gave the policy speech, and only 250 people showed up. And that makes me think I'm starting to think it's the same thing. I spent my entire life in entertainment, and a red flag goes off. You can tell how popular people are by how many people come out to see them. It's a simple thing, and so she had 250 people at her event, and this is after drawing several thousand at some of the previous ones, and that makes me start to think that her popularity is already waning. So I don't know. It'll like once again, it'll be interesting. This is the nobody in either campaign here should get too confident. I personally don't care about her because I don't want her to win, but they shouldn't. Neither one of these people should get too confident. Trump could lose this. It's his to lose, and yeah, he could lose it for sure. I've been talking about that for several weeks. I don't know. We did a show about that. I think, and I can't remember what it was titled, but it had pretty good viewership. I remember that. So, before we go on to the UFO stuff, the last thing I want to talk about what's going on in England. I don't know if people have been following this. This is getting really truly dystopian. It is at this point. So they have a new prime minister named Keir Starmer, and he is from the Labour Party. The Tories in Britain are the major conservative party, and they lost this election. It was the biggest loss for them in like their 200-year history, and that's because they're freaking weasels. There's nothing conservative about this conservative party at all, nothing, and the public just kind of completely gave up on them. Matter of fact, the Reform Party, which is brand new, that Nigel Farage, excuse me, if he doesn't lead it, in fact, he's a presumptive leader of it. They have basically become, matter of fact, if I'm right, it's not basic. I think in the polling, this actually came out now. They are now considered the major conservative party in Britain and the number 2 party to Labour, which has the prime ministership now. Now, I got to explain this because I know a lot of you don't understand this. They don't have the same system we do. Or we have a representative democracy, they have parliamentary democracy, which means that the public in Britain does not directly elect the prime minister or the head of state. What happens is that the prime minister is chosen by which would be their congressmen or their house members, based on how many of them got into office. So, all right, so if your party elects X number of people nationwide per district, just like here, just like in the House of Representatives, and the number of people from your party represents how powerful your party is, and then the House elects the prime minister, which is the reason it's called the prime minister, not the president. It's the prime or the first minister. So it's like first among equals. So that's how that works. So they have no direct way to actually elect their leader. So anyway, this Keir Starmer guy, what's going on there is unbelievable. Their migration problem is way worse than even ours, and ours is bad. The British A lot of the British seem to think that their country's been taken over by Muslim extremists. Now, the left in England will tell you no, those people are just racists. But there's been more and more violence attributed to immigrants, and yet at the same time, when the current legal citizenry seems to rise up in revolt of that, they're the ones that are put in jail, and that's pretty much been codified now. It's like the British government has said, and here's the thing that's really, really scary, and that is if you post online what they consider to be hate speech, they will put you in jail, and they are. This is not an empty threat; they're actually doing it. Like, for example, I got a thing going in here. One guy was sentenced to 3 years in prison for posting about a ride in progress, I guess. I heard one guy, let me see. Anyway, and this is the really scary thing. They've even said that if they find Americans spreading what they consider hate speech about Britain from the United States, they will have people extradited to put in prison in Britain. Now they've not done that yet. They haven't, but they've jailed dozens and dozens of people for just what they posted online. It's unbelievable. I find this unbelievable. Of course, they have no First Amendment. We're the only country in the world that actually has our First Amendment. We're the only country in the world where free speech is completely allowed, or at least hypothetically, constitutionally. And so that's one of the reasons they can get away with this stuff. It's hard to it's really hard. It's hard to look at this and think it's really even happening. That's the thing. It's really. I started working on the internet 35 years ago. I've talked about this. I don't want to name any names. In the 1990s, before 2000, before the internet crash of March 2001, I ran one of the largest communities on the internet. And the really interesting thing is what's happened at X or Twitter, or whatever you want to call it, and Facebook, we experienced in microcosm. I've seen all this before, but the thought that you could actually be put in jail for posting something, and this is the thing this is where the public and civilization is going now, and I completely disagree. And that is, online is not real life. Now they're saying, matter of fact, their big thing about is that these posts are inciting real world violence, so therefore it is real life. And I disagree. I totally disagree. I don't care what the hell. Michael Schellenberger said this in his public. He runs a Substack field called The Public, and he said this about the fact that unless you're talking about immediacy, which was the whole thing about yelling fire in a crowded theater, once you're talking about that, nothing should apply here. It shouldn't. If you're in a crowd and you yell, "Hey, that guy's got a gun," and everybody scatters and people die because they've been trampled to death, yeah, maybe that's a problem. But anything else other than that, that you're posting online, it's bullshit. It's just bullshit. And the fact that we're a society now where we take that seriously, I just think is complete utter bullshit. I don't post online. I've said this before. The show is posted everywhere. It's automatic for the most part. It gets posted. We're on Twitter. We're on Rumble. We were on Facebook. Facebook kicked us off. I don't know. I assume we were not to their liking or whatever. So we've been flagged 5 times for misinformation on YouTube in our first 100 shows. I'm assuming that eventually YouTube will kick us off, which is the reason I don't pay really attention to them. We're on there. They're not my place of choice. Uh, but the fact that people actually take this seriously, that words can hurt. No, words don't. Yeah, words can hurt, but not that much. Everything's relative. I'm not going to. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that words can't be emotionally hurtful. They can, but everything's relative. What do you want? You want someone to call you a bad name, or you want a brick thrown at your head? You know. And the things, unless you're in a very specific circumstance, those things don't cross over. They don't interact. But in Britain, they do. They're doing this. And I mean, there's a lot of people, and I don't see any way out of this at this point. They're going to have a civil war. But when I mean the public, I'm talking about the legal citizens of Britain are going to completely rise up and storm Parliament or whatever. I don't know what they're going to do. It will make January 6th look like a cakewalk. And there's a lot of people who think that the Labour Party in Britain is actually trying to entice people to do that, so they can actually really crack down and throw thousands of people in jail, and then crack down on social media altogether. That's their goal. So, yeah, whatever. I don't know. All right, I'm going to run 12 seconds of bumper music here because we're going to go on to part 3, and there's going to be a chance I'm going to drink some more water. All right, there's a boatload of UFO news that's happened in the last few days. First of all, tomorrow, Luis Elizondo, who was the head. Well, actually, it turns out I'm wrong about this. He was the head of the Advanced Aerospace Identification Program, but that wasn't ATIP. It was something else, from what I understand. I'm going to try to get Jazz. Shaw wrote an article on. He's a UFO guy for Salient Media on Hot Air today, and I'm going to try to get Jazz on the show next week to talk about this, because I'm sure Luis Elizondo is just completely flooded with interview requests. And also, there's another thing too, and Jazz talks about this in the article. So he has a book coming out tomorrow. It's called Imminent. In the book, he apparently says straight out that we're being visited by extraterrestrials and we should get a clue. He apparently says that, even though, and Jazz talks about this, if you work for the government and you write a book, you have to submit the book. There's a certain office at the CIA that will vet your book considering current secrecy practices and what is currently secret. And the vetting for Elizondo's book took a whole year, believe it or not, because of things. And he's always admitted this. There's stuff he can't talk about, But even considering that, there's stuff they let through in the book that apparently is going to be quite eye-popping. And one is that the extraterrestrials are here. He comes straight out and says it, apparently. And so that's tomorrow. I pre-ordered a copy on Kindle. I'm looking forward to reading it, especially because we don't have a show tomorrow night because I got family stuff, and I'm going to read it during the day. So yeah, I'm going to try to get Jazz on next week to talk about this specifically, especially after I get a chance to fly through the book. I wasn't sure reading Jazz's article whether he's read the book yet. He quoted the New York Times and the Daily Beast that apparently they have read the book. They have copies of the book already. But so anyway, well, that'll be really, really interesting. All right, this is a change of thought here. This is not UFO related, but it's about the media. I like to talk about the media. So there was a temporary injunction came down from the court today, federal courts, about the fact that there's this thing called Venue, which is a super service, sports streaming super service. That's going to combine Warner Brothers streaming, Disney streaming, and who's the third? Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh, Fox Sports. Right, the three of them. So they were proposing it was $43 a month, and you would be able to have all of those services all under one roof, and a bunch of other channels too. But the judge ruled that it's monopolistic, it's anti-competitive, and it is. It is. It's also as John Nolte points out on Breitbart.com, they're basically trying to emulate the cable bundle because all these companies made a shitload of money off of cable TV because you ended up having to pay for stuff you didn't even really watch. So that's the reason your cable bundle has 80 or 90 basic channels, and you only watch 10 of them, and you can't choose those 10. So you buy the whole package, you pay for 90 of them, and you can't choose the 10 you watch. So that you pay for the other 80 that you don't watch, and therefore everybody gets stinking rich. And so that seems to be what this Venu, VENU, what these companies were trying to do with the service, and the judge at least temporarily put a stop to it. Now, reading this, it occurred to me, well, first of all, it is antitrust, it is monopolistic. If that's the case there, why can't they say that a regular cable bundle is monopolistic too? That's the thing I don't understand why you couldn't make this retroactive. It'll be really interesting. So on another, I'm a great fan of capitalism. I am. Capitalism has a bunch of flaws. One of the major, if not the major flaw, is the concept of the monopoly. I was talking before about the fact that that I know that there's no price gouging involved with at the grocery store because of competition, and that's true. But what if you don't have any competition? What if you can eliminate your competition? Then you've got a problem, and that's what a monopoly is. Now, legally, according to the antitrust department, legally is if you have 80% or more market share in whatever it is you do. So Google, the Google search engine, and not the company, I'm talking about the actual search engine, was just found by a judge to be a monopolistic practice. Now, and no one knows, there's nothing, no sentence has been handed down on this yet. Some people are saying they should break up the company. Some people, it's like there's all sorts of things you could do. The problem with breaking up the company of Google, and the reason the Google holding company is called Alphabet, the reason they have one is because they have a whole bunch of services like Gmail and Google Maps and that stupid Gemini AI thing, whatever, the thing is they have all these different services, and yet the only two services that Google owns that makes any substantial money are the search and YouTube. That's it. And YouTube is relatively recent. They've only been making money at that for 5 or 6 years. I mean, you have to understand this, and this is really true. And I'm not bragging by saying this. I was in the tech business, and I had a partner, and YouTube started in 2006. Around 2003, we were playing with the exact same idea about the fact starting a service where anybody could post video. Okay, and we looked into it. And the reason we decided not to do it is because at some point we knew that the storage costs for all these videos would become outrageous. And so we dropped it. So that was around 2004, 2005. 2006, YouTube starts up. And of course, they had the exact same problem. They were overwhelmed with traffic, and all of a sudden, where are we going to put all these videos? Like, to store this stuff is going to cost a fortune. And what you don't know about how the internet works is that if Google was the only company at that time that could have ran YouTube, because it would have ran at a massive loss for years, and that's exactly what happened. And Google bought YouTube, and that's exactly what happened. It ran for years at massive losses. But they could sustain it because they were rich as hell. So, and they did. And finally, this is about maybe 2016, or about 10 years into this, they finally started to make a profit at this. And now that they've got this down and it's a good advertising medium and all that sort of stuff, and people accept it, now they're making a really good profit at it. And the reason I bring that up is, like I said, of all the things in Google's stable, the only two things that really make any money are the search and YouTube. So if you were going to separate the search from everything else, and even lift Google or the YouTube and the other company, even if you did that, that other company probably couldn't sustain itself. I don't know. I haven't run the numbers, but it'll be really interesting. I mean, if you use Gmail, well, you've probably noticed their Gmail started with ads in it. There have been no ads in Gmail for years because it was just annoying and stupid. So they took them out, and I had no idea how much money they were making from them. But I do know that in and of itself, Gmail did not make a profit and never has. Never. I mean, I think Gmail's been running for about 20 years. It's never made a profit ever. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. But I brought that up because I don't understand why the standard cable bundle isn't monopolistic or antitrust either. I don't understand that. But anyway, this is going to be really, and Nolte's right about this. They're trying to recreate this because basically their honeypot's been taken away basically by the public. The public doesn't want this anymore. The public has gotten tired of paying $125 for a cable bill, especially because people realize, well, how much are we watching? And then if we bundle a bunch of streaming service together for $5 a month, we're still saving a shitload of money, and we watch almost everything we want. Maybe not quite, but still. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens there. All right, so Fox News reported this. In California, in Los Angeles, it's called the oxfish. This fish is also called the doomsday fish because it seems to wash up on shores just before or just after some major event. And what happened in Los Angeles is they had an earthquake. I think it was like 6 points on the Richter scale, something like that. And right after the earthquake, oarfish, and they're very large fish, they're basically the size of sharks, started washing up on the shore in the city of Los Angeles. And everyone says, well, that's interesting. And it is. Elvis Presley's brother, his stepbrother, says that, and I'm sorry, I should have actually written down what a hotel this is. I can't remember what hotel is it. It's the hotel where Elvis did his residency in the 1960s and 70s. That he can still feel his. He says he can feel his presence of his stepbrother in the hotel, and customers have said they've seen Elvis in the hotel. So I don't know. There's that. All right, and we've talked about this. I still find this hilarious, even though it's not that funny. So these two astronauts that went up to the International Space Station in the first flight of the Boeing Starliner, they get up there, they dock, they empty. It was a story, a refill mission. It was what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. They're up there to replenish supplies, and now they're stuck. Now the reason they're stuck is because there's thrusters on the Starliner that are not working, and they're afraid they can't successfully maneuver the thing into the correct position to come back into the atmosphere, which of course would kill them if they screwed it up. Now the other the thing you probably haven't heard, though, you never heard that. The thing you haven't heard is that so you're thinking, why don't they send another spacecraft up to get them? Well, they've taken up the last docking station on the whole space station, and so the only way they can dock another spacecraft is literally if they let the Starliner just go off into space. Now they're seriously considering it about just disconnecting it, and it would burn up in the atmosphere, which of course would not look good for Boeing at all. And these people are not in any danger. I mean, they actually did bring up supplies, so they got plenty of food and all that sort of stuff. And apparently, they're having a good time, that sort of stuff. I read they have enough supplies to easily stay up there for at least a year. Okay, great, that's fine. All right, but still, Boeing does not look good. And now Elon Musk is saying, "Well, I'll send a SpaceX spacecraft up to get them." Yeah, but they got to get rid of this one first. It's just a mess. It's like Jesus Christ, And then the thing is, like, how come so you got a guy, Elon Musk, he starts these companies. They're all new, Boeing's been around about, 100 years, They can't get his shit together. This is the same thing that happened at NASA. I have a friend of mine whose brother works at NASA. And this was years ago. This guy told me, he said, he said, we couldn't do the Apollo space program here anymore. And I said, why not? He said, because we're just so screwed up with bureaucratic bullshit. We just literally couldn't get our shit together to do it, And you wonder that's what's going on at Boeing. You got this guy, Elon Musk, started this company. What? SpaceX is only like 15 years old or something like that. It's launching rockets everywhere. It launched 149 rockets last year into orbit, whereas Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin, it launches rockets, but it's never put a rocket in orbit ever. It's never done that, not one. So now Elon's telling the government, and they're telling, well, I'll go up and get those guys. It's like, okay, sure. Oh man. Boeing 747 pilots have recorded multiple UFOs, and I can't remember where this was. So New York Post reported that. Oh, and we'll end with this. This is really interesting because I've heard about this for years and years and years. There's experts now who are saying that the Vatican knows that extraterrestrials are real because they have proof. That they have proof in their archives. That and apparently the proof is this is speculation. Well, it's all speculation. What are we kidding? The proof apparently is that a UFO crashed in Italy in 1933, and that the U.S. government retrieved it, but the Vatican helped in arranging for that, so they basically have the records of the fact this happened. That's supposedly what the proof is. So, and this is really interesting because about 10 years ago, I lose track of time. I can't figure out what's going on. The Vatican newspaper put out an article out of the clear blue with no prompting whatsoever by the chief astronomer of the Vatican about the fact that we have to start coming to terms with the fact that extraterrestrials exist. And the Pope Francis, this is not like Pope John Paul, Pope Francis has had conferences about the fact of how do we deal with the impending arrival of ET. They've already, they study this, in other words. So the fact that this does not come out of the clear blue at all. But yeah, so this is really interesting. And it's the specific part about the fact that the Italians turned over this crashed extraterrestrial spacecraft supposedly to the Americans. That's how the Vatican knows. God bless us, everyone, huh? All right, I'm going to leave it at that, folks. Okay, well, thank you for joining us tonight. Sorry you couldn't call in. It really pisses me off. Tomorrow night, like I said, I got to take tomorrow night off. Very unexpected, very, very sudden, but I have to. We'll be back on Wednesday night with the dynamic duo. That's Jeff Meyer and Jennifer Oliver O'Connell. And we'll be on Thursday, we'll have a convention panel. That should be fun. Not that Jennifer and Jeff aren't fun either. They're fun. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it a lot. Good night, Uncle Donnie. Good night, Esperanza. And good night to you, wherever you are. We'll see you on Wednesday. Take care.